In 2009, Kevin Williamson was approached to write a new trilogy featuring both legacy and new characters for the franchise. The trilogy was announced with Scream 4 being released in October of 2010. But scheduling conflicts, disputes with the Weinsteins, and frequent script changes forced the movie to be pushed out of its Halloween time slot to the following April, where it flopped. Opening with a meager $18.6 million box office, the second lowest in the franchise, Scream 4 would soon get overshadowed in theaters with the release of Fast 5, which featured the debut of one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Competition wasn't the only reason for its failure. The slasher genre was feeling the exhaustion of 7 straight years of Saw films and transitioned into supernatural films like Paranormal Activity and Insidious. Not to mention that Scream 4 was ahead of its time. An audience didn't quite get what was being done with it being a requel, something that was not common until a few years later with the new Star Wars and Jurassic Park sequels. Further complicating the film was that the studio executives also did not understand the concept of a requel and the possibility that this new trilogy can be one where Sidney was no longer the main character. Here are 5 things about Scream 4 that you may never have,
or probably,
heard of.
Number 5. Have you ever wondered what happened to Sidney's father, Neil Prescott, and if he would return in a future installment of the franchise? Sadly, Sidney's father passed away, and it was revealed in a deleted scene from the movie.
So, you going to Sid's book signing?
Has she ever been to one of mine?
I think it'd be really nice if you did. Her first time back since her dad died.
Not only did we find out the fate of Neil in this scene, but you may have also noticed that we see some of the film's original continuity restored around Sidney and Gail's relationship. The friction between the two of them from the first 2 films can be heard in Gail's response to Dewey about going to see Sidney.
So, you going to Sid's book signing?
Has she ever been to one of mine?
Number 4.
With the exception of the first Scream, each film that followed had to deal with the growing success of its cast and writer Kevin Williamson. Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox filmed Scream 2 while filming their own respective shows, Party of 5 and Friends. Neve literally would film Party of 5 on Monday and Tuesday and then spend the rest of the week on Scream 2. For Part 3, she was filming the TV show and another movie, thus reducing her screen time. Kevin Williamson had to bow out of Part 3 due to his work on 2 TV shows and 2 movies at the same time. Scream 4 was no different. While Courtney was no longer working on Friends, she was now working on Cougar Time, which limited the amount of time she was available to shoot, reducing her screen time to just over 16 minutes. Kevin Williamson returned, but not without his own complications and a possible lawsuit. He attempted to push back the start of the latest season of The Vampire Diaries, which he was the writer of, but the studio threatened to sue the Weinstein Company. This led to the return of Ehren Kruger, and like Scream 3, multiple script rewrites would occur during filming, complicating the production far more than its predecessors.
I have no fucking idea what to write.
Number 3. Unlike Scream 3, Ehren Kruger did not have to rewrite the entire script, only tighten it up. This was to the benefit of the film because with the combination of 2 writers, we saw not only restoration of lost continuity in the franchise, like Dewey being back in Woodsboro and having advanced from deputy to sheriff, but we also saw them sprinkle some of the previous twists and underlying plot lines that were scrapped for Scream 3, put back into place to a degree. The first being the Horror Film Club and its dedication to the Stab franchise, only it was no longer a cult being guided by Stu Macher. Or was it? And only Charlie would be unmasked as the killer. We also saw the motive for Angelina being the killer in Scream 3, split between two characters in Scream 4. In the previous film, Angelina would have revealed to Sidney that they were classmates in Woodsboro and that she had idolized her. This became the backstory for Judy Hicks.
You don't remember me, do you? Sorry? We went to high school together. Judy Hicks. We had the same homeroom and drama club, too. We were in Peter Pan together. I played a lost boy. You were Tiger Lily.
Another component of Angelina's motive was wanting to become Sidney, which became the motive for Jill.
I mean, all I ever heard was Sidney this and Sidney that and Sidney, Sidney, Sidney. You were always just so fucking special! Well, now I'm the special one.
Number 2.
There were 2 alternate openings that were quickly scrapped. The first was where after Marnie scares Jenny,
I'm gonna grab some refills. Want one?
Yeah, might as well. You know, Marnie, you're not fooling anyone.
What do you mean?
I think you secretly like horror movies.
Maybe.
You wanna grab some popcorn as long as you're up?
It's over here, right?
Yeah. And chips too, if we have any.
All right. No chips. Okay, assholes. Read the original.
What?
All right, Jenny, you've already had your chance to scare me. Jenny?
the second alternate opening for the film contained a time jump where we see Sydney having a party to celebrate her book deal. Little does she know, one of her guests has a sinister, ulterior motive for being there and hangs around after the party has ended. The guest attacks Sydney dressed as Ghostface, which turns into a knife fight for survival, leaving Sydney badly wounded and her assailant dead. Post-opening credits would jump 2 to 3 years ahead, where a healed Sydney returns to Woodsboro. Studio execs vetoed the latter, feeling that it would disrupt the flow of the film. Despite it being scrapped, Kevin would later recycle this scene in the TV show the following.
Number 1. The original ending featured a cliffhanger and did not include the hospital scene. Instead, the finale would be at Kirby's house, playing out much like we saw in the film. As Dewey and Gail arrive at the house, they hear an officer shout, "We have one alive, a woman," in which Dewey responds confidently, "You mean Sydney." Only it's not Sydney. Instead, we see Jill brought out of the house on a stretcher. Jill would have achieved her goal in becoming the new survivor of Ghostface, and Gail would write her next book on her. The true outcomes around Sydney and Kirby would be left undisclosed. Scream 5 follows Jill and her new fame while she attends college, but like Sydney, after the original Woodsboro murders, her past is never too far behind. The Ghostface murders begin again, only it's not Jill. It's a killer who knows Jill's secret. The alternate ending led to alternate scenarios in Scream 5, where one being that Kirby survived and attends college with Jill. She was never aware of Jill being the killer, only believing that Charlie was. The other being that Sydney survives, but is suffering with amnesia.
I like it, but it sounds very familiar. Sounds very, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Which he also wrote.
Well, maybe sometimes, I think sometimes with these writers, you know, some of their ideas just kind of get all jumbled together and they're like, oh, well, let's do this. And then it's like, oh, I already did that.
I've always been a fan of Scream 4. It's my, I don't know if I could say it's my second favorite anymore, because Scream 5 is so good. So it's now my third favorite.
Same. It was my second favorite. It really sucks that it did so poorly in the box office. I really, really like Scream 4.
I thought where it was going is great. I would love to see that storyline play out. I don't know about the Sydney having amnesia thing. Too soap opera for me.
Yeah, I don't like that part, especially because, you know, she was coming out of, like, doing Party of Five, which was kind of soap opera in its own way. And I get it. It's Kevin Williamson. He writes a lot of shows. Well, he didn't do Party of Five, right? No. But he did Dawson's Creek. He did Dawson's Creek. So, yeah, I just feel like it's too much like some kind of like a TV show. So I don't like that idea.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the whole Jill storyline going to college with another killer being there, I think it would have probably played out where Kirby was going to be the ghost face, which, if we really think about it, we have not yet seen that yet, where somebody, a part of the core group, turns out to be Ghostface.
Yeah. And I think it would have been interesting that Kirby and Jill end up at college together with her thinking just Charlie was the killer. So that would have been interesting.
Yes. Other than that, a lot of these other things are pretty cool. The opening scenes, I can not really care for. I'm happy with the way it was. And I really enjoy that they started pulling little pieces from scrap storylines from part 3 with both Kruger and Williamson. So that means that there's always a chance that Stu is alive.
Hashtag Stu's alive.
And it may be out, it may be coming out very shortly, but we're going to dive into the facts on Stu's death. Is he alive? Is he not? And we're going to break that down in full detail. So
Matthew Lillard says he's alive, so... And since he is Stu...
well, there's a little bit of a spoiler for that video, because he just said it. Sorry. Anyway, are there any facts that we've missed that you would have included in this list? Let us know by dropping that into the comments and share it with our community. And don't forget, it is the quest for 5,000 subscribers, and it is Scream Month. So, you can help us get there by
liking, subscribing, and sharing.
Scream is very important to us, not only because it's one of our favorite franchises, but it helped our channel get over the 1,000 hump. So help us get to that 5,000 subscribers, and we'll be giving away prizes as we go along. So every video that gets 25 likes and 25 comments, you'll win something until we get up to the 100 mark, where we'll give out a full-size poster. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, and if you've commented it and you liked, and maybe if you shared it and tried to get some friends to jump on and watch the channel as well, you have a chance to win this box of Strawberries and Scream cereal, signed by
Matthew Lillard and David Arquette.
Yes.
And it's not available in the US.
I don't understand. I'm cereal signed by Matthew Lillard.
What the hell was that?
And it's not available in the US.
No, it isn't. We went through a lot of trouble to get it here, and still dealing with some of the issues from getting it here. Anyway, let us know what you think about this video. Let us know what you think about Scream Month, and Scream 6 is almost here. Woohoo! And we'll see you in the next Part 5.